I don't know what you expected by clicking on this video. It was clearly clickbait. What? Okay, fine. Fine, I'll give you some content. Jesus. Alright, the Immortal Sun, bad card. It's bad in pretty much every format. It doesn't do enough for value, it doesn't have a lot of synergy. Politically it's bad in multiplayer formats. There's nothing good about the card. Yeah, let me just check my notes of like all the things that are wrong with the Immortal Sun. Yeah, I only have like 3 or 4 pages off the top of my head. Alright, let's start with limited. We got sealed, we have draft, we have chaos draft, and we have the complete casual mentioned by the professor. Now for regular draft, with Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan, you're probably going to get 2 packs of Ixalan, 1 pack of Rivals. Ixalan is a notoriously fast and aggressive set. Not a lot of synergies, not a lot of things to go around. The game isn't going to go as late as you think it will, even though there is the City's Blessing as a mechanic. So it's 66% of a fast and aggressive format and 33.3% of a much slower format. So a 6-drop is not going to make it there. Most of the time, a 6-drop isn't going to be relevant in that format unless you're at parity and you just top deck it. It's bad in your opening hand. It's bad when you're behind, and it's pretty much useless when you're already ahead. Though best hope for it is if you top deck it while you're at parity. Same goes for sealed. Same goes for the complete casual, and same goes for chaos draft. Unless, of course, in the chaos draft, for some reason, everybody's playing with a lot of packs that have a lot of artifact synergies and a lot of late game effects. Like, for instance, they're choosing Scars of Mirrodin and new Phyrexia packs to open up and draft with. And if somebody throws in a pack of Rivals of Ixalan and you pull this, that said, it felt like there was a lot of parity and a lot of trying to break parity and get in and just poke for damage here and there. And it felt more like you were really just trying to break parity with your opponent and finally just get them. There would be longer stalls in the game versus some of the newer sets. So this brings us to constructed on the other page. Alright, as far as constructed goes, it's not looking great. Let's start with vintage. No. Let's start with legacy, actually. It's too big, it's too clunky, it's unfocused, doesn't do enough. Not for 6 mana at least. Then for modern is way too fast. It's not going to do anything for you in modern. A lot of decks are trying to kill you on turn 3 or 4, and this 6-drop, even if you're trying to ramp into it, there are better 6-drops in modern that do more immediately, and your opponents are gonna need answers for. Primeval Titan being one of them. Sun Titan being another, a Worm Coil. And heck, if you have one Worm Coil in your deck and you're looking for another 6-drop, you probably want another Worm Coil or a Mindslaver, actually. So there's no real place for this in modern. And that leaves us with standard, which is a much slower constructed format by comparison to modern. And with standard, I think that this only has a few places. It has no place in aggro or mid-ranged. In mid-range, if you're going to put a 6-drop in there, it better be something huge. It better be a planeswalker like Vraska. Heck, you could play Vraska instead of this thing. You could play one of the big beefy dinosaurs instead of this thing and nearly kill your opponent with it. How much is Carnage Tyrant? Like 6, right? You could get a Carnage Tyrant. There are better things to play than this in Standard. In mid-ranged and aggro, and I don't think this thing really combos with anything as of right now. Also, Tempo, I don't think Tempo wants this. That leaves Control. So the Control decks who are playing this are not really going to be able to play too many Planeswalkers in their decks because they have this, forcing them out. And a lot of them would probably prefer a Planeswalker. The Control decks that are going to want this are probably going to play a 1-of. It's going to go in the deck. It's going to sit there just as the 1-of, floating in the main, and you're going to hopefully top deck it late after you meet parity with your opponent and stabilize. And at that point, then it'll begin to take over the game. That's the only time when it's actually going to be useful to you. So you better keep it at a 1-of or just not at all. And it looks very powerful, but it's not. Now for my favorite format, Commander. It's only going to be relevant in very casual or games with precons or themed games, like artist-based decks. Artist-based decks, themed decks, precons that are slightly upgraded. Not too many decks are going to find a lot of use out of this. What? I'm not going to stop eating just because you're here. The legendary rule for this card is actually a really big takeaway because it removes a lot of potential for cloning synergies. There are a lot of cards that like to copy artifacts and make copies of artifacts, and it helps you cheat the mana cost of giant artifacts and get around the whole singleton 1-of. Plus, I mean, who doesn't love copying a giant, super good, or like high value card like 7 or 8 times and just breaking it open and just pulling so far ahead of your opponents that they ask, do you have a win condition right now? Because they don't have removal and they want the game to end. But you can't do that with this card, even if you wanted to. And believe me, you don't want to. It's legendary, so that takes away from the card. The second ability the first ability of Planeswalkers can't activate their loyalty abilities is kind of a very bad, very incidental ability. It actually is more negative against you than it is positive. Super Friends decks in the format aren't as common as people think. For every one person that actually has a Super Friends deck, like 12 people around them just don't. Not everybody has like a binder full of Planeswalkers, has like, oh look, I got 20, 30 Planeswalkers to just select from for my Super Friends deck and make the best one possible. And Super Friends isn't out of control or that powerful to begin with, so it's unlikely that you're going to need to actually turn off all Planeswalkers with this. And it just takes the Planeswalkers out of your deck by canceling out any synergy with it. And that leaves us, let's go to the bottom ability, the Anthem ability. It doesn't scale with Commander. It's just an excuse for your opponents to come in, poke you, just come in with an excuse to like just poke you or blow it up. They're like, oh well, that card is kind of big and powerful. I'm just good easy target for the removal. And basically pay 1 mana, ruin one of your turns. I mean, 6 mana is a whole turn of your lands untapping, your mana rocks being tapped. You're probably going to spend all, if not most, of your mana in that turn on this. And you're going to hope to try to untap with it, and you're probably not going to get the chance. Or they're just going to take a bunch of time poking you, and that's going to put you really far behind and going to make it really hard for you to team up with people. Yeah, and the Anthem ability doesn't actually scale with Commander. It's only relevant if you have it spread across a lot of bodies. And at that point, you're looking to kill people. And a 6-drop that only increases their power and toughness by 1 isn't really a lot to go with. It's very minimal. You need a lot of bodies to make it actually relevant, or people's life totals to be low. So that brings us to the mana reduction effect and the card draw effect. At the beginning of your upkeep, was it? So if you count each card drawn as 1.5 mana by comparing it to Divination or Opportunity, assuming those are cheaper ones, or maybe a Maul Drifter, comparing it to Maul Drifter. If by comparing it to those, and you break it down, it's 1.5 mana per card. So you'll have to draw about 4 cards to get your value out of this, but Opportunity is still a better card. And it sticks out in people's mind a lot less than this thing, because at the beginning of each of your upkeeps, you just go, oh yeah, I'm going to draw a card now, and then I'm going to draw my card per turn. Everybody's going to notice, and it sticks out in their mind when you do it 4 or 5 times. By the time you actually get that all those cards into your hand finally, you're gonna have made some enemies, and a lot of eyes are gonna be on you. You only can really get away with that sort of thing when somebody has a Consecrated Sphinx on the battlefield. Other than that, you're not gonna get away and just be really sly and just be like, oh yeah, just casually draw my cards. Just, oh yeah, don't look. Hold on, don't look. I'm just, yeah. You're not gonna get away with that. And if you have a lot of card drawing synergies and you really care about card drawing synergies, this still isn't the card for you. There's still better options. A lot of looting options if you have card drawing synergies are significantly better than this and are cheaper, and you get more triggers and just all around better than this. That brings us to the mana reduction. All of your spells are going to need reduced. All of your spells with generic mana costs are going to get reduced by 1, which is very cool. But if you have a commander with a activated ability or a triggered ability that requires you to pay 1 while it's on the stack, pay 1 as it resolves to get something, this is a lot lackluster. It feels very bad when you're sitting there just 1 mana short of activating your commander's ability or something's ability 3 or 4 times, and you're just like that 1 mana away from activating it 1 more time, and you're like, oh man, I wish this was a mana rock. And to get your mana back for this card, if you're just planning on casting spells in quick succession to get that mana back, it'll be 6 spells, each one reduced by 1 generic mana, assuming that they all have some kind of generic mana cost. And it's very unlikely that you're going to be doing that or drawing 4 cards very quickly with this thing. By just saying, draw, don't cast anything, go. You're very likely to cast some spells in the meantime, so it's going to probably be a combination of 3 spells cast with 2 cards drawn. So if we put that in an equation, and we need it to equal 6 or greater for you to get your value back. 6 is the converted mana cost of the card. Then there's the equal to or greater sign. X is going to be the number of cards drawn, and each card is going to be worth 1.5. and it's going to be plus by Y, which is going to be the number of spells cast, well, or the number of mana saved through casting spells. And we're going to assume that it's 3. You've cast 3 spells, all with generic mana cost, and they've all resolved, or yeah, it doesn't matter if they resolve, they still saved you the mana, and we need it to all equal out to be 6 or greater for you to break even. Anything more than 6 is just the icing on the cake, and is exceptionally good. But it's unlikely that that's going to happen. A lot of people are. It's just too bad politically. Very big target. Can easily create a mana discrepancy. It's more likely that you're going to cast 1 spell or 2 spells of this on the battlefield. Maybe get 1 draw is the more realistic thing before somebody destroys all the artifacts of Vandal Blast or Shattering Gust. Something along those lines. Coruscant's Grip, Rex Sage, Acidic Slime. It's a good target for all of these. It creates a big mana discrepancy between you and them. So this is a bad card. I don't think there's a whole lot of other formats where I need to actually mention. This is easily a very big trap card. As pre-mentioned in the clickbait title. Let's check. What's the last thing? And with that, I'll leave you with the knowledge that you are a better player than the person that clicked away from this video just because they weren't immediately satisfied. And your patience has paid off. Now go wreck some meadows. Go stomp some Timmies. Have a good day. Smell that? That's not utility. That's unfocused, lackluster cards that are bright, shiny, and make Timmies go, ooh!